Hello everyone and welcome to this episode, the Workwear One, of the Women Talking About Learning podcast. I'm really happy to say we're back, properly back, from an extended break. I'm delighted to report we've already got a series of episodes recorded, planned and scheduled, and will be coming to you every 2 weeks from now on. We're back with a great topic, and because we're all about trying new things, 3 fabulous guests. Our first guest is Leo Locher. Leo has been on the podcast before and we're delighted to have them back. Leo is a learning consultant with NIIT who also runs their own coaching business where they work with change makers and startups. Leo is a fellow of the RSA and a multilingual global citizen based in the UK. They've authored 2 books, The DIY Phoenix and Values Based, and is also a TED speaker. Our second guest is Katrina Collier. Katrina is on a mission to end the collaboration chaos that ruins recruitment and candidate experience, particularly exacerbated by hybrid working. She facilitates workshops to help companies fix the real issues preventing successful talent acquisition. She's also a mentor, author of The Robot-Proof Recruiter. She's a global keynote speaker and host of her own podcast, The Hiring Partner Perspective, Unedited. Katrina is also an ambassador for the Hope for Justice charity. Our third guest is Abby Reynolds. Abby is the Head of Operations and Customer Experience at 5app. Abby has a career of over 20 years in a variety of industries including retail, food, banking, finance, digital learning and technology. And Abby's also worked in a range of roles: sales, business management, customer service and consultancy. The episodes are, as we've said before, chosen by the audience, and this topic has come up a few times in emails and direct messages. In addition, when we announced we were recording this, we got a couple of questions that were fed into the guests via the chat. This is a brilliant conversation. This is Women Talking About Learning. This is Leo, Katrina and Abby talking about workwear.
Well, I'm delighted to join Leo and Katrina today to discuss the workwear topics that women in, well, I guess it's going to be men and women and not just men and women, but all sorts of, different things around workwear. So I'm really excited and passionate to talk to you guys about this today.
Oh, that's brilliant, Abby. So I'm Katrina. I can't wait to get into this topic, particularly as Leo. I can't wait for you to define workwear versus work attire, which we just discussed before we came on. I didn't know there was a difference.
Neither did I.
Hey, Leo.
Hi. I'm not sure. I mean, that might be my projection, but for me, I guess attire sounds a whole lot more formal than wear. So workwear for me could be, like a barista apron, versus work attire for me would really mean a business suit.
Oh, I see. I just thought it was whatever you wore to work. How funny.
I guess it's a big question as well, isn't it? It's whether you go casual or whether you go business attire. Because I'm a little bit of a gender neutral. Leo, I've met Leo a few times in person, so you've probably witnessed my, my different blazers and different things that I'm drawn to and I like to bring about in the workplace, which I think are suitable for the workplace. But then, and I suppose it's also feeling that, is it suitable for the workplace and does this pass as workwear? I think I've always, debated that to myself in my own head.
I love the word suitable, by the way.
Yeah, we can break it down, can't we? Yeah.
It was funny when I was thinking about this and I put a post on LinkedIn about it because I was thinking of like different examples, but going back to early on in my recruitment career, if I sent somebody over for an interview to this particular company wearing a suit, they wouldn't get a job. And this is going back when everyone wore suits for interview and they were dressed down. Now it's so dressed down, most companies, not all, like, what do you wear? And it's like, it's become really messy. And then you add it in the global pandemic where we're all, I've been delivering work with my feet up on the table and bare feet and jeans and no one's known because they can only see me from the waist up. The world's got confusing as well.
it has got confusing. I think it's interesting as well to debate whether, you know, it's sometimes I think that in the workplace, I think, and maybe this is just my opinion, but I do think that sometimes women kind of address differently. So, or, you know, they're under more, I guess, judgment, where, you know, by others in the workplace, where they shouldn't be, by the way, obviously. Yeah. But I think sometimes that has been the case where I've witnessed it, where it's quite easy for people to judge what, and I don't mean just men, I mean women as well. I mean, you know, and whereas a man, you know, in the workplace could walk in wearing joggers, a t-shirt and a hoodie, which is fine. That's and what they like to wear. But if a woman wore it, they might be judged a little bit differently.
I'll give you an example. The first time it like smacked me in the face about how unfair this is, and I mean women doing this to women. I came off the stage, I was invited to go all the way to Minneapolis to do the opening keynote for this recruitment conference. And I was so awed to have this opportunity. And I gave it my all. And it was, as usual, full of tips, takeaways, you know, immediate stuff that can go and make recruitment better. And I come off stage, and sadly it was a shared bathroom. So I go into the bathroom and this woman comes up and goes, "Great talk. You've given me the confidence to wear tight dresses." And I was like, wow. And then it was reinforced after I'd spoken at another event, and I was talking about a piece of work, and the head of talent acquisition asked her team what I was like. And the feedback was, she wore a great dress. And I knew I wasn't going to get that work. And it was like, whoa, we're doing this to each other. This is wrong.
I know. Yeah. It's so wrong. Yeah.
But is that because it's come from society, or Leo, what do you think? Where's it come from? This appearance means whether we're capable of delivering work or not. Does that make sense?
It's actually a function of the class system, if you ask me, because it used to signify, you know, professional status and so on would obviously in former times have correlated with, you know, what your family was doing and where you kind of place in the social pecking order. And I mean, if you go back further in the Middle Ages, there was sumptuary law. So unless you were of a certain class, you were actually not allowed to wear certain things, even if you could afford them. And I think still have a similar function. So I mean, and in a way it can also, I know we're kind of dissing suits, but it can also be a way to kind of gain entry into something. So I had a few years back, I started a job at a big name consulting company, and I was actually homeless before they hired me, which they never knew about. So for me, suits were a way of signaling I belong when nothing else in my life signaled that I would belong. So I was essentially, I mean, pretty much faking it, because the rest of my life was still in complete shambles. But I knew
so it's almost a suit of armor, wasn't it? You were putting on a persona.
And I knew if I managed to look the part, it didn't matter as much what the rest of my life looked like while I was in the office with that suit. I was kind of a part of everyone else. And I could then use that as a springboard to rebuild the rest of my life, which I ended up doing. At the same time, it's also really difficult. I mean, in the same company, I moved to a different country, and the HR saw me come back from lunch break with an H&M bag, and I think I had bought, it wasn't even something I was planning to wear in the office, but you know, I think it was like sports socks or something, like, you know, like literally none of their business. And the HR manager pulled me aside into her office and gave me a list of American designers I was expected to wear, which I think I might have been actually speechless. I was like, what?
What the, wow.
Yeah.
Was that a female HR manager as well?
Yes.
Because the one time I've had my attire criticized for not being professional enough was a female director as well. But wow. But you're right, it could have just been something for the gym. You know, it could have been.
Once there was also that was in a much earlier job, and he was literally like fingering the fabric of my suit jacket, and he was like, "There's a lot of polyester in there. Don't do that."
I mean, that's terrible.
I mean, at that time, I was literally making, I think, £3.25 an hour. So yes, there was polyester in my suit. I did not wear Escada. Sorry.
I don't even own a suit, so but if I did, there'd probably still be polyester in it. My God. I couldn't imagine. I don't even know how you would handle someone doing that, like feeling your clothing. It's just so out of order.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly
that
not
was the 90s, but still.
Yeah, it's certainly not something you would do, would it? It's just really odd behaviour. I think as we're talking about experiences, actually, I've got an experience that I went through, and it was when I was currently looking for work, and this is about 15 years ago. So I mean, without obviously naming and shaming companies, and and I went for this job interview, and the interview was with men, but they were hiring for the role, but they also employed females as well, which is good, which is a good start. They, when we went to the interview, it was all very, normal, the interview, and asking normal things. And then right at the end, they said, "Oh, by the way, how do you feel about wearing skirts?" And because I've always been a bit more of a trouser person, and that's what I feel comfortable wearing, is blazers and trousers, and I've always been into practical, comfortable clothes, and that's what I like. That's who I am, and that's how I like to dress. And at the end of the interview, they said, I was so taken aback by it, I didn't really know what to say, so I just I went with it and said, yeah, I'm perfectly happy to wear skirts. And why? And they said, "Oh, because we have a dress policy here where all the women wear skirts, and they have to be just below the knee, and we tend to prefer Marks and Spencer's." Which is great, because I'm a fan of Marks and Spencer's, so that was one thing going.
I can't stand their clothes.
And then they said, we give all the women vouchers in the organisation so that they can, so we do that. So I mean, it was the most bizarre, and this was a fairly corporate organisation. I just couldn't believe it. And then, at the end they said, so, they kind of said, are you interested in, how do you think the interview's gone? And I sort of said, I was very polite. I sort of said, oh yeah, I think it's gone well. Be in touch, that
was this in the 90s as well? When was?
Well, it was 15 years ago.
Okay, right.
So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So
but you know what? It's all the stuff I talk about in my book. It's pre-internet. It's because the internet exploded just after that in the 2008-9 crash, as in all the people came onto LinkedIn and Facebook and etc. And that's when some of this started breaking down, because it became much more like, well, we've got the power because we can see what other jobs are. To say no to a job in 2006 was still a big deal.
Yes.
Whereas now it's like, well, hello, let me look at all the other jobs. So
yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it was so cringy. And what was quite interesting was the recruiter called me afterwards and said, "Oh, how did it go?" And I just obviously let rip.
Yeah.
I was like, well, where do we start? And the recruiter actually said, "Oh, this could be why we've been struggling to find the right candidate for this role."
It's really interesting though. You think that here we are in 2021, aren't we? What year are we in? I don't know. It's been very quick here. Last year went on forever. This year's been quick. But I'm gathering examples, and I'm forever hearing horror stories. And then I have heard of male interviewers asking female applicants to stand up and turn around on a video interview. And you think, come on, like really? And it's still carries.
I mean, at that point, you would be tempted to give the finger. Sorry.
Yeah, no, totally. That wasn't swearing. That was okay. We're allowed that one. I feel like I have a gag order. It's so funny that you talk about the below the knee, and it reminds me, and Leo was talking about class. I went to an incredibly good all-girls private school in Australia, and we would have to have at knee length when we were kneeling. But it's like, that was in the 80s, this is 2020, it's 21, whatever you were in. It's terrifying to hear that. But it's funny, and I'd love Leo's thoughts on this, because that trouser thing, I mean, I wear jeans. I have been wearing jeans for 12 years. I have been working from home for myself, and I turn up to clients in jeans. Like, is it still an issue? Like, is it still this thing you have to? So is this big corporates as opposed to the startup SME space? Like, who's doing the?
I think it's actually more, at least from my experience, it was more of a gender thing than really a uniform thing, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I wear suits at work when I'm in an office pretty much. And, not like necessarily double cuffs and like the full, like I don't tend to work at like a Silver Circle law firm or anything, but pretty much always with trousers. And I got the feedback that given that a lot of my work is in learning and development, that it would be easier for me to fit into the team and into the culture if I make an effort and wear a skirt or wear a work dress at least once a week and kind of rotate the days so that everybody has a chance to see me in a dress occasionally, because that would make it easier to relate to female team members. And I do have to say, I really hate to admit it, it actually works. Like, it actually really works. And it breaks my heart. And I used to do that literally until the last day I did it was March 12th, 2020. I have since donated all my work skirts and work dresses to the charity shop. So they're gone, and I'm not planning to bring them back.
Good for you.
It's been a cultural thing. It's been a sort of gender dynamic, how women each other at work, which is all about talking, like saying nice things about accessories and stuff.
But it's the women
you can
picking,
say nice
isn't
things
it?
about trousers.
So if I think about it, it kind of goes back to that thing at school where we would have the female magazines and we all sit there and pick way before, the photo. What do they do? The photo thingo. What is that thing they do to photos to make them unrealistic now?
Photoshop?
That one. Thank you. Yeah, back then, I mean, they had to actually wear makeup and stuff, like ridiculously thick makeup to hide flaws. But it was, I think it started them, and I don't think that side of things like Instagram has made it better, and all of the trashy magazines that are women picking apart women. And I think then it goes into the workplace, and instead of going, well, Lior delivers this incredible learning, but Lior isn't in a dress one day a week, so therefore women aren't going to take us seriously. What? Like, my brain can't even go there.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point, actually, Katrina, because I remember wearing a uniform at school and having to wear a skirt, and I've always felt uncomfortable wearing skirts, and it's always been a bit of a joke with my family. When are we going to see your legs, that sort of thing. Even my grandma would say it, encouraging me to want to get my legs out. And it wasn't because I didn't like my legs, it was because I just didn't want to wear a skirt or a dress.
It's quite chilly 98% of the time in the UK.
Exactly, totally, it is. But I think, it does make me question, workplace uniforms and how that's probably, transpired from, from the school grounds, but also, if you have two different types of workplace uniforms, so, you have a trouser option or you have a skirt option, how inclusive are workplace uniforms? Could a man wear a skirt if he wanted to?
No.
Should women be allowed to wear trousers? Are people allowed to swap around that whole, uniform because that's what they feel, that's authentic to them, that's what they feel comfortable in? Because that's where I feel like we should be going in society, but yet it's still not, we're still not going that way. We're still not quite there yet, are we? So
school here?
Women if that was the case, would women be expected to shave their legs, if they wore a skirt? And it's okay for a man to, it's all very mixed emotions. And I think how society perceives things and puts pressure on people.
So wrong.
Also for men, by the way. So I've had a colleague, a non-binary colleague in a different organization, and he was wearing nail polish, and it was he had a client-facing role, and he had rules about what he was only allowed to clear nail polish or like French manicure when he was with the client. He wasn't allowed to wear color.
Wow. Wasn't there I don't know if it was here in Australia now, so I can't remember, but wasn't there a big backlash in a school because the girls weren't allowed to wear trousers, so the boys went to school in skirts and they got expelled or some such? Was that here? Leo, you're nodding. Where was it? You can't remember either. I'm going to dig that out.
I remember having heard it. I don't remember what. Like the school in
ingrained.
Thing is so weird because I didn't grow up with that at all. So in Germany, people don't have school uniforms.
You're far more sensible lot though.
The time that hits is the first time that hits is when people start their corporate jobs, if they have a corporate job. So for most people, that whole conversation comes up super late in life, and then people are a bit unprepared, I think.
Yeah. Funny, isn't it? Because culturally how different. I find that superb.
I mean, the thing that I used to really love about wearing my school uniform was I got to wear a tie. And I absolutely loved wearing a tie. Any opportunity where I could put a tie on and wear a tie and it be, normalized for women to wear ties, which I think it is more so now than it perhaps was, back then. But it was okay.
It's funny. Andrew, who's not really here, has shared with us the Guardian article. So it was 2017. Teenage boys wear skirts to school to protest no shorts uniform policy. Love it.
Yeah, that is great.
I really do. It was hilarious you said about the whole leg shaving thing. Why do you think I wear jeans all the time? I can't be bothered. It's too much hard work. When summer actually arrives in the UK, maybe I'll bother.
Well, I think that's a good point though, isn't it? Because, a lot of the time when I go shopping for clothes, quite often I do find myself picking up clothes in the men's section. Should there be a men's and women's section? And that's a whole debate that I'd love to have at some point with people. Why haven't we got gender neutral clothing stores where you could just walk in and it is what it is? But I would always be searching harder for my clothes, I felt, because I'm looking for, are the pockets deep enough? Are they practical enough? Is it warm? I'll pick up a shirt and it would be designed for a woman and it would be cut differently and it would be more revealing and showing. And I'm thinking, it's freezing outside. I'm not going to wear this, like where's the long sleeve shirt that, you've got it in the men's section. I want that version. But for me, sort of thing. And
actually,
I think that
you remind me of all the corporate swag, which is always the boys cut t-shirts, which I personally can't stand. I can't stand anything near my throat. And I cut them so I can have some air. But I'm forever going, where are the V-neck versions? Like I'd be happy with a boys t-shirt and a V-neck, but just that to me would be perfect gender neutral for me. Because I'm choking. But I know what you mean. It's like, why are we making it so difficult? But isn't it that it's up to the age of 3 or 4 that it ever, like boys and girls are deemed just children? And then we start splitting at school, isn't it, when it starts becoming like girls can't do cricket, boys do cricket and all that kind of, isn't that where it starts? And the clothing probably starts
then
as
probably,
well.
I think it's earlier. I think it's earlier than that.
Yeah.
And I actually found it got worse. So I remember growing up. So I had a younger brother and we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So, he obviously had to wear my hand-me-downs and I got, clothes from like cousins and so on. So it was all kind of in the middle, bright colors for kids, but, none of the everything's blue for the boy and everything's pink for the girl, like mess. We didn't do any of that. So, we had like bright red, bright green, brown, not just brown because 70s, 80s, but, brown and orange. Always a good look.
We had fab colors in the 80s. Come on, I'm not going to refer to my 70s attire. It was funny writing my post last week. I can't remember what it was about, but I referred to my dad talking about hiring female clerks back at Tip Top Bakeries in 1965. And then I had to put a little asterisk and then go to the bottom and say, by the way, my father has never said that I wouldn't succeed based on gender. And because I felt really awful and really conscious that here we are all this time later and going female clerks just sounds so wrong and cringeworthy. But I think it's a lot of that is a societal, it's still coming down and changing and adapting. And I just wonder when it's going to get to workwear or work attire or whatever we're calling it.
Even before kids are born, like, if you have a colleague who's pregnant, everybody asks, so what's it going to be? And the best answer I heard was anecdotally on Twitter, someone shared the nurse, when they had the ultrasound, the nurse said, you'll know which gender it is once it's old enough to tell you.
Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Presents people ask, you could give some bright sunflower yellow. That'll, like, why are we doing this? Why?
Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. my partner was in hospital, and she was on the hospital bed, and the little things where you call for a nurse, and it's like a button and it had a symbol on it, and I found this so just bizarre when I saw it. It was call for the nurse, but the nurse logo or the nurse picture was a female in a little nurse's outfit, which I just found absolutely, saying that it's a dress or it's a skirt, and it was like this weird, I don't know, it didn't quite feel right. It was clearly from the 70s. this button, it was clearly, it was quite archaic in terms, quite, it hadn't been modernized at all. But I did find it, well, partly hilarious, but partly also shocking, because I was like, oh my goodness, look, it's literally, it was even like I don't know, like some sort of French maid's outfit. It was like a really,
the old nurse.
It was really,
with like the head with the wings and things, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like, this is so wrong. This needs changing. Why haven't we changed this?
It'd be really lovely to have a choice though, because you are reminding me of after my back surgery when I really needed help, and they sent a male nurse. Like I could have in that time really done with a woman, but anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
but I'm sidetracking. So yeah, how do we think that the pandemic has affected workwear, and in particular for women, if we're going to go gender? Do you think the pandemic's made it different? I mean, the thing I've been giggling about is people wearing sweatpants instead of. I always recommend that you wear something that has a belt, so you notice when you're getting bigger from being sedentary and eating too much.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because a lot of people who hadn't worked from home for a while got quite a shock in the first sort of 3 or 4 months.
yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, before the pandemic, I used to lay my clothes out the night before what I was going to wear this, in the morning. Yeah. So it was there because I was commuting to London. So I was up at, 6 and on a train by 7 o'clock. So I had to be organised in the morning and think, I had to look at the weather. Is it going to rain? What do I need to wear something warm, Whereas, since the pandemic, I wake up in the morning and I open my wardrobe and think, oh, that will do.
I wore that yesterday, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I still lay out the top bit at night for the next day. I'm no longer doing suit jackets, so I do like fairly neutral cardigans, and thankfully Zoom and Teams makes everything a lot more neutral looking than it actually is, which is great.
Yeah.
And the bottom is comfortable and very like fluffy and warm and just confident.
So can we go from that, because you were saying that and I was thinking I've got the Zoom just set just on touch my appearance up, right? Like literally it's just off, so I don't look ridiculous, like I've got a filter, but it's just so I never have to wear any makeup. But again, coming onto this, thinking back through all the experiences I've had, I hardly ever wear makeup. I can't be bothered. I've got mascara on, so exciting. But I went on stage at this event and they had a makeup artist there for all the women, and I flatly refused to have a face put on before I went on stage, and the makeup artist was absolutely horrified. What then? Because that's another aspect of this work attire. You talked about the nail polish, which I love having my nails done. I just hate having a face on. So it's like, where's the line when what we're telling women to do?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember going on the train commuting to London every day, and one of the things I used to see was women putting on their makeup. Sometimes their hair was still wet and stuff, but men, they were just sat there, not yeah. And it was kind of it was my thought process. I was thinking, this is so much harder for like women. There's women here on the train that are really clearly putting an effort into their appearance before they have to go and present themselves to their colleagues or whoever, and they obviously feel the need to have to be able to do that. I mean, I'm slightly different. I was there with probably a pasty half down my front, just trying to get through the
crumbs off your chin.
Morning, brushing off the crumbs off my chin. But I did see it wasn't, it was quite a regular thing, and quite it was always women on the train doing that, and I just felt felt that there's,
I was with
you know,
you.
a lot of pressure
I
for
think
people.
it's also a time tax. So, you know, like if you think that's 20 minutes in the morning and maybe 15 minutes in the evening, you know, over the course of a year, that's a lot of time. And I was so happy when I no longer had to do that. And obviously I chopped off all my hair and so on. So that takes 20 seconds now.
Yeah.
You know, people sometimes ask me, like, where do you find time to write a book? And then I'm like, I don't have a TV. I don't, like, I'm not doing all this. And people think I'm joking, but it's really, you know, if you add that up, you can probably, over the course of a few years, you can build a whole, like, thought leader platform or something with those 40 minutes a day. Literally.
Leo, you have seen I've chopped mine off, right? Leo last saw me, my hair was really, really long. And last year, of course, was the heat wave, and I just got bashed with the perimenopause, and my hair was up on the top of my head permanently. And I just thought, I can't be bothered. And then actually also that goes into work attire, because if you're in your 40s, even 30s, because perimenopause can start so early, and you're having to cope with the heat, you don't want to be wearing very corporate attire. It's so messy. How many men do you see using an electric shaver on the commute? None.
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 Absolutely zero. Yeah, zero men.
I've seen it in the US a few times.
Have you?
In the US, I've seen guys shave in their cars. So that
in their cars.
Happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
while
they
they're
don't
driving.
use public transport. So
while they're driving. One hand on the steering wheel. They're not going to cut themselves with an electric razor, though. they also say, but I also think about apparently you eat an awful lot of lipstick as well. All of that health benefits of not wearing it. Anyway.
Also, not to put too fine a point on it, but a lot of the red is actually made from crushed insects. So
like my nails. At least it's only my nails. But where do we draw the line as well? I mean, Leo, you're wearing those amazing, beautiful green bright glasses. I have some, but I don't wear them when I'm on Zoom chats. What about that? Is there a line there as well about, you know, what's gender neutral in eyewear? Are we allowed to? Are they bringing in rules on that, or can we be as expressive as we like on our faces?
I've worked in a couple of fairly conservative places. They didn't have rules about sort of loudness of glasses. But they did have rules around accessories. So I remember once I interviewed for a law firm and the person said, "You have a lot of metal around your face." Meaning various, obviously. And I had already taken like half of them out and put like little pearls in and stuff. So I thought I was being really good, but that clearly didn't.
I've forgotten about the earrings. That's a big thing. Because I've got a little bit carried away with the old Maria Tash of late. So I mean, I must have about 5 in each year, at least. Yeah, and that's a big thing now, isn't it, as well? But who's bringing that in? So is it men bringing it in, or women bringing it in? Who's
who's writing these policies, these workplace policies?
Yeah. By the way, I'm being quite gender specific here, and I appreciate because I feel I cannot speak on behalf of non-binary, but I don't feel like anyone who feels non-binary would put a policy in place over that, but I could be grossly generalizing.
I suppose as well it's about workplaces, you know, making sure that they really do adopt an inclusive and diverse workplace, so that they've got, you know, a broad spectrum of perspectives and views from different people who are also, you know, on the leadership teams, where they can actually, you know, make those changes and be role models and you know, help write those policies that modernize the workplace, their workplaces, and you know, take it into a whole new, you know, place. I think that's, you know, that's
also like if you're in a really global environment, some of it is also cultural. I'm thinking of, you know, the Maori face tattoo, or for example, I have a few Indian colleagues who have nose rings, and you know, that's not because they're punks, that's because it's, you know, part of
exactly
of the culture there. And there's probably other things I'm not currently thinking of, but it's also, you know, like you have to have some way of keeping expressing, you know, the different meanings that certain things might.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of my friend Matt Doran, who I've plaited his beard. It's that long. Like, I must ask him actually, does he get discriminated against for really long beards? Like, yes, as well. Leo's nodding.
No, with a lot of policies in the more conservative places, they do have beard policies as well. So
Okay.
like the CC top version would probably get similar conversations.
It's really nice to plait, though, to be fair.
I think it's cool. You know, I think you should, you know, if you have whatever nature gave you, like, you can grow an awesome beard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you like it, go for it.
People
like,
have beard in me.
I mean, if you want, you've got to let people. I think people have got to be authentic, haven't they, and comfortable, and that's what creates a happy workplace, isn't it? Letting people be able to express themselves without feeling that they're causing some sort of offence to others. Where inclusivity and diversity and the sense of belonging in a workplace really does, needs to be challenged. I think organisations need to make sure that they're recruiting inclusive and diverse people so that they create that, workplace environment.
Has the explosion in tattoos changed things? As someone who works with a lot of recruiters, yes and no. I mean, recruiters actually have a lot of tattoos. I'm grossly generalizing, at least amongst my group.
Tattoo.
Yes. Yeah, I've got two. I mean, but I can hide them. So they're like under jeans and, like they're not visible per se. I think that there would probably be culture, ignoring culture, so ignoring Maori, I think there would probably be an issue with face tattoos in certain organizations if it's customer facing, that sort of a thing. But I just feel, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, isn't it, is churning up as our complete selves. And I feel in this marketplace, I've never seen in my entire recruitment career such a candidate-driven market, that it really is an opportunity for people to go, I won't work for you.
Yeah.
I will keep looking until I find the company that suits me, that I am part of as well. I think that does come to attire. Do women get prejudiced against for having tattoos? I've had a weird experience though of getting some really interesting looks for mine, but I wouldn't say discriminated against. Not that I'm aware of. Probably more so for my multiple earrings.
So I've got several, but they're all in places where nobody at work would really get to see them. So so that's fine. But they're also, I have deliberately stayed in areas where I can cover them, or where they would be covered if I wear sort of more businessy sort of clothes.
What made you choose that path then? What made you choose to hide them? Like I also actually, no, I've got one on the outside of my ankle, but I can't hide that. It's like, what made you make that choice? I'm going to keep them for me, really, almost, so they're not seen at work.
I started with the tattoos when I was still pretty sure I wanted a career in the business environment, and it definitely wasn't open enough, and I wasn't ready to completely trash any future career options. Some of them are also, they're specific to the place. So I've got one that covers a pretty significant portion of my back, and I can't really think of any work-related scenario where people would need to see my back without anything.
The annual Christmas party, maybe, if you chose not to wear a suit.
Exactly. So that's not, given that I'm not wearing evening gowns either, that's a non-happening thing,
that's
really.
Fair.
So, and I am planning, like everyone who says, oh, I'll just get a small one and then I'll stop. I have like a pipeline of 5 that I still want to do.
Yeah, I'm really grateful I haven't had one since my 20s. They are very addictive, which is why I haven't had another. But I find that with my ear piercings, you see.
I think progressively they will probably stray into territories where people might eventually see them, but I'm not in a rush. So I think by the time that happens, either some other discrimination like age or whatever will catch
you'll catch me up.
Hopefully things will have softened up a bit.
Actually, that's a really valid point as well, and I think it can be the ageism in the workforce. And then again, I don't even know, is it worse for women over men? I don't know. That's another whole can of worms.
It is. I think that's a
Isn't
whole
it?
debate in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Has Andrew got that on the podcast? It needs to be added. It's not there already. Oh, quite. It's tough. It's not easy. So what's the plan when Abby, are you in the office now, or are you still working remotely?
So I work 100% remotely at the moment.
And do you feel you'd change your attire if you had to? Well, obviously the bottom half, perhaps.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, don't ask what I'm wearing right now.
She's got her pajama bottoms on.
Well, actually, I've got a few events to go to this week, and it's just come out of the blue. And it was quite funny yesterday. I was literally running around going, what am I going to wear? Is it a black tie-do? And I was going through this whole ordeal of, I don't want to wear a dress. I haven't even got a dress. What am I going to do, you know, to my partner? And do you know what? I'm just going to go dressed, wearing smart, what I consider to be smart. And, you know, if they don't let me in, they don't let me in. But I'm just going to go with what I think is super smart and isn't going to offend anyone.
Is it a black tie sort of event, or is it a...
I think so. Yeah, it's quite. Yeah,
you can totally get sparkly trousers if you really want to, or even just shiny fabric.
Exactly. So I'll just dig something out along those lines and wear it. But you know, I think it does raise a few questions that I've been working from home, and then suddenly I'm going to London and starting to go to a few events and stuff, and I'm now starting to dig out clothes out of my wardrobe and putting it on and going, oh, that's a bit tight.
Yeah, I told you. Belt.
Yeah,
I could have told you that at the beginning, couldn't I? It's my one rule from working from home is I've always got a belt on with my jeans. So at least I go, oh, whoa, stop eating that.
I'm a bit out of practice, but
I have a tux on my wish list now that I'm definitely no longer doing dresses.
Yeah, I love it.
I want to get a really nice tux that fits properly, so that's on my midterm wish list, and then that'll have to catch all the fancier events.
Oh, do you know what? That's what I need, Leo. That's exactly what I need. Yeah.
So so a nice cut wise, so will it be, you'll go have one tailored that is for you?
I would love to have a tailored tux. Yeah, love for that. Me, definitely.
Yeah, and you need to, because obviously the men's like, depending on how you build, it does need sort of, you know,
some stuff at the front
in other places. So it will need a little bit of tailoring, but there are also specific tailors that cater to female bodies who like wearing tuxes. So
I love that.
One of those.
Totally love that. Great question here. Do you have any advice for women starting work now about the attitudes they might face? Yes. There's an internet. You can leave. That's not really great advice, is it? But it is. You don't have to stay in a toxic toilet. And I've stayed in many for far too long.
I was about to say, the first thing that came into my mind was entirely not quotable under the rules we're under. But
were you going to say something that was worse than crap?
Yes. And I think it's really like, don't take it personal. Don't let people tack a wish list onto you that no longer makes sense. I would echo, there are plenty of places that are more open, and it's also an indicator for a general culture. And you know, hypothetically, a place could be really open and really amazing and still have a medieval dress code policy, but I doubt that a little bit. So I think it's also a good indicator if that's the bit you're uncomfortable with. And if you have conversations about it and they get really weird, then that's a good indicator, because if that's a weird conversation and you haven't even started yet, that's not going to get better. So I think that's a good diagnostic. Like, by all means, kick the tires and see what happens. How that conversation goes will tell you a lot.
Yeah, just do your research in the company. Ask for a tour around the office, because even that could be a virtual tour. See what people are wearing as well. But I also agree with that whole, like, you don't have to go into the corporate patriarchy, you must wear There's so many SMEs that are doing amazing stuff, which could really set you up for a really interesting career as well. So yeah, look beyond. Abby, what do you think?
Well, I think I think you Lior and Christine, you've absolutely nailed it with your advice there. I don't think I can build, especially from you, Katrina, you're in the recruitment field and you've just gave some, awesome advice there. But I think, the biggest thing for me is find an organization where you really can be, yourself and thrive in it. And you don't have to change too much of your personality or any of your personality, and that means the way you dress and stuff, to be able to be happy. So I think it's exactly what you both say, feel like you can kick the tires, as Leo says, feel that you can, you don't have to be there. The jobs market is great now, so much opportunity to go, actually I don't need to be in this environment. So I've gone through those environments, and I'm now I'm very fortunate that I'm in a company where I can help build and create the environment that I want, that I want to be a part of, and I want other people to thrive and be part of. So I think exactly as you said,
and actually the other thing while you're saying that is also, don't be afraid to leave in those first 2, 3, 4 months. There's a lot of people like, oh, you're going to look like you're jumping. Well, you can just be really honest and say, hey, it wasn't for me, it wasn't a fit, we didn't match each other. That's why it's a probation period, a trial period, and you can move on. It can be really scary to change jobs at that time, but that's when you suddenly find behind the doors and what it's really like as well.
So
amazing. So if we can wrap this up with what's your hope for the future of work when it comes to attire, workwear, whatever we're calling it? What are your thoughts?
People don't make it harder for each other. There's no need for us to give our colleagues, our future interns, our suppliers, our whoever else we're working with, such a hard time about something that's just meant to keep us warm, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I think it's for people to, accept and embrace each other, and, embrace different perspectives, and create that nice environment where people are all different, and they look different, they dress different, and help people bring about their true selves. And I think that's really important to create a happy society, not just workplace, but society in general.
Totally. And then if you find that you are one of those people who's picking on someone because of their attire or what they look like or whatever, take a little hard look in the mirror and just really check in. Where are you being unkind like that to yourself? Where don't you like yourself? Because when you genuinely like yourself, you just won't. You'll create that society and that workplace and that acceptance. So I think it all starts with self as well.
Absolutely.
That was fun.
That was really good fun.
I get the feeling we could talk for longer about this.
I think we should
complicated
do it again.
topic. Yeah, we could just go from one thing this time, like work makeup or work glasses. We could be off.
100%. Yeah,
but hey, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. It's nice to meet you, Katrina, and lovely to see you again, Leo.
Leo, and we need to. It's been too long.
I know.
Bye, guys.
See you soon. Bye.
I said we were back, and we're back, and with a bang. This was so much fun to record. It really, really was. After we'd stopped the recording, the guests carried on talking, and they mentioned about doing something else. So we've done a follow-up, but you're going to have to wait a few weeks to hear exactly what that is. Our most sincere thanks to Leo, Katrina and Abby for the conversation and discussion. As I've said many, many times before, being allowed to eavesdrop into conversations like this is fascinating and such fun. I also appreciate how privileged I am to be able to have the opportunity. You'll find Leo's, Katrina's and Abby's contact details in the podcast notes, along with some interesting links to some of the things they were talking about. We are still recording, so please look on the website for topics we're hoping to do, or tell us what you want to record. Similarly, if you fancy recording, but maybe you're a bit nervous, just let us know. We can definitely do something to work around you. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again soon.